Before I start, I just wanted to thank Tom. Without his cauliflower ear this week, I wouldn't have been able to make this video, so thanks, bud. And I also wanted to thank Alex for recording. So let's get to it. Some things you'll need are wound wash, preferably 70% isopropyl alcohol. All I had was 91 for this video, but it'll do the trick. Rubber gloves, gauze pads, and 21 or 29 gauge needles. The bigger the gauge, the smaller the needle. So choose the size based on how bad your ear is. So this is going to be the most important step. Protect yourselves at all costs because you don't know what these young folks are doing with their Tinder. Spare no expense, get the highest quality rubber gloves and put those suckers on. Now you're going to wash those gloves with soap and water and air dry them off. This is to minimize as much bacteria as possible. Next, you're going to take some isopropyl alcohol and put it on some gauze pads. By now your patient should have washed their ear with soap and water. Dry it off with some gauze, then take the gauze with the alcohol on it and thoroughly clean their ear. After letting their ear dry, it's time to now drain it. First, we prep the syringe by pulling the plunger and then pushing all the air back out. I do this because it usually sticks during the first pull. It makes it a lot easier to draw the blood if I prep it rather than if I didn't. Next, we gotta find a pocket of blood in the ear to extract from. This takes a little bit of practice, but once you get used to it, it's pretty simple. Use gravity as your friend to help you draw blood out of the ear. Stick the needle into the middle of the pocket you found and draw slowly. Make sure you have one hand guiding the needle while the other hand is slowly pulling the plunger. Only draw as fast as the blood is letting out. If no more blood is coming out, then stop and pull the needle out. If the patient still has some pockets of blood in their ear, then repeat the steps with new needles until you can get as much as you can out. Discard the blood in the syringe down the drain, then cap the needle and discard those needles based on your community guidelines. Last thing we're going to do is hit the ear with some wound wash, also known as antiseptic wash. Have their head facing down so that stuff doesn't get inside their ear. It's basically just lidocaine hydrochloride, which is an anesthetic, and benzalkonium chloride, which is an antiseptic. Just some extra insurance to protect your patient's ear from infection. Dry it off with some gauze and you're done. Now it's time for me to rant and talk about why I don't recommend going to the doctor unless if you have a really great doctor that also knows combat sports pretty well and is familiar with cauliflower ear. Here's a recent situation where someone went to the doctor after they got cauliflower ear, no names, but they went to the emergency room after cauliflower ear appeared, and the doctors lacerated their ear. This means no training for quite some time, unless if you want to, take a risk and get some nasty infection or something, but I wouldn't recommend it. Notice that the cauliflower ear is still large, even after laceration and cleaning it out. If you just drained it, at least you could just throw some headgear on and just get back on the mats the next day. This isn't even the first time I've heard of stories like this. Just people going into the doctors, thinking they're gonna get some help, and then they come back with, some crazy wound from getting cut open, and they're out of commission, can't get on the mats for probably like 2 weeks, which is just not acceptable for a lot of us who train on a regular basis and need to train on a regular basis. So speaking from personal experience, the photos you see here are actually my ears. The one on the right being when I was first starting out in jiu-jitsu. I got that around the second year into my blue belt, and that was going to the doctor getting help. And basically they shoved a giant horse needle into there. I forget the gauge. It was probably somewhere like an 11 or something like that. I remember when they pulled the needle out, it was just black. Like the blood was so thick. It was just nasty. So that was the best they could do, was the picture on the right, and that's how it looks now. But the left ear is I would say about into my 4th year, I got cauliflower ear on my left side. And rather than going to the doctor, I told myself that I would learn and teach myself how to do it. So I grabbed my own needles on Amazon and proceeded to drain my ear. And as you look at it, I mean, you can barely tell that it's a normal ear. And the only reason why is because I had access to doing it myself whenever I needed to. And I believe the true trick into keeping it low or small or inconspicuous, not looking like a crazy actual cauliflower ear, is you got to get it when it's in its initial stages of being hurt. After you get the cauliflower ear, what I did was, after many different trial and error, I let it heal for about a week and wore headgear during training after I got it. I didn't touch it right after, I didn't drain it right after getting hit in the ear. But what I did was wait a little bit, and then I would drain it after about maybe 5 days, just to let it harden a little bit, let the blood calcify, and I believe your body absorbs some of the plasma as well. And also the inflammation goes down after its initial blow up. But so after a couple days, you drain it. Well, you gotta protect it because it's gonna fill up again, just by normal walking, whatever everyday activities, and then training is gonna just cause blood to go, fill in those pockets again. So what I needed to do was, every time it filled up, I would just keep draining it every couple days, maybe every 3 days to every 5 days, until it fully calcified and I could no longer draw any more blood. At this point, the ear just stayed in place, and even if I got hit or whatever in the area, it wouldn't blow up anymore. So that's when I knew it was good. Now translate that to going to the doctor every time it blows up. Unless if you have some crazy insurance that, maybe no copay or whatever, but you gotta take into account it's traveling fees, and then you gotta pay your copay, and maybe you have a deductible every time you go into the doctor to get your ear drained, or because you need to do it multiple times. I think I drained my ear on the left side probably about maybe up to 2 or 3 weeks, and in those 2 to 3 weeks I would drain it twice, and that's a lot of times. So going to the doctor that many times, plus copays and traveling and whatever fees, it's gonna add up. So I think it's worthwhile to learn this skill, especially if you're gonna be training long term, because this is something that happens in our sport. And even though it's considered a badge of honor, I know our significant others wouldn't appreciate it if it kept getting worse and worse. Some of us would probably even want us to quit, but that's not an option. So I think it's important to learn how to drain your ears and help others if they need to. Try to become an expert at it. Anyway, I hope this video helps. And if you liked it, please make sure you share, comment, like it, all that social media good stuff. But yeah, I'm always trying to put good content out there, and lately it's been real busy, so I haven't really been able to make as many videos as I want to, but I appreciate the feedback, and hope to be putting out some new videos out there in the future. Thanks for watching. Peace.